Vedinad is 100% Dani. Many people think this is a joke, but with all the evidence I've gathered, I guarantee Dani is sitting back in his $153.45 dusty, crusty, musty gaming chair, glucking down 3 liters of milk whilst laughing at all these idiots who still haven't figured it out. When I first heard the theory that Vedinad is Dani, I was skeptical, but the more evidence I see, the more undeniable it becomes. To the point where I can say with 100% certainty that there are 3 possible conclusions, and the least far-fetched conclusion is that Vedinad is actually Dani. For starters, if you don't know who Vedinad is, he is a game dev YouTuber who recently popped up out of absolutely nowhere. They just released their first game, Megabonk, on Steam, which is currently receiving tons of hype, since there's a decent amount of YouTubers covering Megabonk right now. And the game is just genuinely a banger. Megabonk is a Vampire Survivors-like, which for me is just straight up a genre of games that I don't enjoy. But even still, this one just hits different. It's actually super well designed and incredibly fun. Now, if you click this video and somehow don't know Dani, which is unlikely, so I'll keep this brief, Dani is the biggest game dev YouTuber ever. His YouTube videos consistently pulled in millions of views. He also released Muck and Crab Game on Steam, and his unreleased game Carlson is still the 36th most wishlisted game on Steam, despite the fact that he disappeared from the internet 3 years ago, and now people believe he's back as Vedinad. But is that actually true? Well, my goal is to answer that in this video. We're gonna break down all of the evidence, the things we know to be fact, the speculation, and maybe even uncover the reasons as to why Dani would create a new game under an unknown alias. By the end of this video, I guarantee that you will be convinced that Vedinad is Dani. Let's start with listing all the evidence for it being Dani. First, Vedinad backwards is Dani Dev. Both are game developers from Norway. Vedinad could be using a VPN though. Both are colorblind. Vedinad's Discord account was created the same day as the Megabonk Discord. But what does that mean? It indicates that his Discord account was made entirely for the purpose of creating the Megabonk Discord, which tells us that this Discord account isn't his main account. Focusing on the videos now, at this point, it is definitely still fair to say that those could all be coincidences. So, they have a very similar editing style. They also have similar verbiage in their videos. Maybe it's just me, but Vedinad seems to say things the same way Dani would. Similar thumbnail style. Dani likes to spam thumbnails with light blue backgrounds and use that same font with yellow text. Thumbnails also use the same assets. If you check the comments on Dani's recent videos, and all of Vedinad's videos, they all have 7 replies and 4 likes, indicating that it's the exact same image. You can also see the same eyes and the same health bar, and there's probably more differences that I haven't noticed, but you know, you get the point. They both use the same assets. Megabonk is the kind of game I could easily see Dani making. I think most people would agree. This is a very Dani coded game. In Megabonk, the level up sound is also used in Muck. This could be a free sound, to be fair. I'm not 100% on that, but it's the exact same. It doesn't sound similar, it's the same. It's the exact same. Megabonk has the same movement tech from Dani's games, where in the air, if you move diagonally and slowly turn your mouse while spamming jump, you go way faster. Leading me to believe he probably just took the movement code from his game Carlson. Oh, you haven't heard of Carlson? Well, it's just a little game he's been working on. It's currently the 36th most wishlisted game on Steam. And those are all the main points that people have found, and a few points that I personally have found as well. Keep in mind that there are probably things I've missed, or maybe new things that have come out after this video. I should mention that this video was spawned from a Reddit post on r/Dani that I happened to see when this guy realized that people actually think Vedinad is Dani, whereas he thought it was a joke this whole time. I just find his replies to be a bit pretentious, which angered me and brought out my inner fucking fedora wearing Reddit mod fucking persona, and I just wrote a whole essay, and I was like, oh, I can't quite say everything that I want to in this post, and it's already fucking massive, so that's why I'm making this video, so I can get everything that I'm thinking, everything that I have to say about this, all in one place. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah. A common sentiment I see on this thread is how much people seem to underplay how rare it is for someone to be a highly skilled game developer and a good enough editor to pull off Dani's style. Like, that is a very uncommon skill set. Not impossible, but super uncommon. Now, there are a few things we can conclude from all these points. The most obvious conclusion, whether it's Dani or not, is that Vedinad is not some random dumbass. If it isn't Dani, then at the very least, it is definitely someone's Smurf account. He just popped up out of nowhere with really good editing and made an absolute banger of a game in only 1 year. No one's first game looks like that with that little development time. At the very least, they must have an Edge account with a ton of shitty games on it, but there's no links to anything like that, no Twitter or anything, which is incredibly sus, I can't lie. And trust me, this is something that I actually have insight on as a game developer myself. It's not impossible to create a game like this as your first game. Maybe he is just extremely talented or has experience in another field like 3D modeling, but to make a game like this in such a short time frame requires years of game dev experience. Inexperienced developers will just straight up take longer to create a game at this level of quality because they have to learn so much. Also, to pull this off, it requires incredibly good product management, which is a skill you can only learn from making a shit load of games. Now, there are two things that throw me off, and one is the voice. That is clearly not what Dani sounds like. And two, why would Dani do this? But I'll answer those questions after this. Like I said at the beginning, I think there are three possible conclusions. We can forget about the possibility that it's just some random guy. There's just too much evidence against that for it to be the case. So, here are the three conclusions in order from most far-fetched to least, in my opinion. Vedinad is a Dani superfan who happens to be colorblind, who also happens to be from Norway, who also happens to be a really experienced video editor, who also happens to be a really experienced game developer, who saw an opportunity to maybe create a bit of buzz on social media by naming himself Dani Dev backwards, and put a lot of effort into meticulously copying every single aspect of Dani's video style down to the last detail, and drive a bunch of conspiracy theorists absolutely mental, like myself, and perhaps use this as a marketing strategy to create interest in his upcoming game, Megabonk. This is the closest conclusion to it being some random dude. If this is the case, then it is extremely fishy that Dani hasn't called out Vedinad on Twitter, or at least memed about it or something. Conclusion 2. It is a close friend of Dani's, who also happens to be from Norway. Bruh. Maybe an IRL, maybe it's just some online game dev friend of Dani's. They've been into game dev for a while and enjoy video editing. They've been asking Dani for advice on their upcoming game and getting tips from Dani himself. In fact, Dani has gotten a little more involved, sending Vedinad the same assets that Dani uses for all his videos, and also some scripts and sound effects from his old games to help out his bro. And conclusion number 3, it's obviously fucking Dani. You know how insane those other two conclusions are? It's bonkers. It's fucking bonkers. Laying it all out like that, I'm 100% convinced. In fact, it's just so obvious that I don't even know why I'm making this video. It's like making a video about how the sky is actually blue. Like, no fucking shit. No shit. And if you still aren't convinced and you think I'm tripping, then please let me know what information I'm missing, or perhaps you see some flaws in my logic. I'd like to hear your opinion. And to quickly address the voiceover in Vedinad's video, videos, it's most likely a friend of Dani's or some AI voice changer, which does throw a medium-sized spanner into the works. Hey, just gonna cut in here, this is me speaking a few days after the original voiceover. Since I first started this video, there has been much more evidence, much more conclusive evidence in fact. Before, it was more of a dream cheating situation where there's no individual concrete conclusive evidence. Now it's just, it's over. It's Dani. We know now. I'm just gonna quickly go through this before we move on to the next section of this video. First of all, there is one real life shot in Vedinad's devlog. We have footage of Vedinad in Dani's apartment wearing Dani's hoodie, and as you can see, we can see these two sections line up perfectly. We also have footage of Vedinad owning Carlson in his Steam library, which is only possible if you're the creator or if the creator gives you a Steam key. I think it's more likely that it's just Dani, of course. We also do have Dani's voice in Vedinad's videos. So what we know now is that Dani has been using an AI voice changer for his videos, and there is one moment where he's making a joke where he has to cough, and I'm assuming the AI voice changer just completely fucks it. So Dani had to cough with his actual voice and speed it up so no one would notice. And actually, that did fool me. When I first watched it, I was confused as to why it sounded so different from the voice. But, you know, now it makes sense. It's Dani. It's sped up. Shout out to this guy. Also, in this video of this guy exposing this, he also has an AI voice changer to like reverse AI voice changer back to Dani, and it sounds exactly like him. Like they speak the exact same. It's fucking Dani. Like it's actually over. I was gonna have like this. I was gonna cut in and put this whole Occam's razor shit in here, but yeah, I don't have to. It's obviously Dani. Okay, but to keep going, I'm hoping by now you can start to see that Vedinad is pretty obviously Dani. The next question is, why did he do all of this? I have two probable answers. Let's start with the most boring and basic answer that most people who know Dani are already thinking. Dani doesn't want the smoke for working on another game instead of Carlson. Dani has stated that he physically can't get himself to work on Carlson. Now, this has been talked about to death, so I'm only going to touch on the unique stance that I have on this. Back when I first watched Dani's Carlson devlogs, I hadn't even been making games for more than a year, but now when I rewatch them with a more critical eye forged from years of experience, and having released my first game, there are some pretty big red flags in the way Dani goes about developing Carlson. I won't go into these red flags since I'm pretty sure most people watching this aren't game devs, probably don't give much of a shit about the nitty-gritty of game dev. But I will say this, Carlson is Dani's second abandoned project. And if you see the games he's worked on up to that point, you can see Carlson is his highest scoped project. And it's clear, bro hasn't got enough experience to pull it off at that time, in my opinion. When you are building a game without thinking about the later stages of development, there will be a point in which the game becomes incredibly hard to finish without making massive compromises. And I suspect that Dani is unwilling to make those compromises because Carlson is his dream game, which is a pretty big problem you'll have with making your dream game. You want your dream game to be absolutely perfect, or if not perfect, incredibly good. And if you haven't thought about these later stages, you're gonna have to make some decisions you don't want to make. And then it stops becoming your dream game at that point. It starts becoming just another game, right? If it was me, I'd literally just finish it any way I could. Get the bag. If it turns out mid, I'd just move on to the next game, to be honest. It's a pretty shit situation. If Dani doesn't make those compromises, then he'll have to build Carlson again from scratch. So either way, it's a lose-lose. If he finishes it and it's not the way he wants, there would at least be room for Carlson too, right? That's probably the way I would go about things if I was Dani. But yeah, that's just me. I'm not as based. I sort of don't give a shit. I don't know what it's like to have this kind of pressure Dani has, though, you gotta keep in mind. And also, this is all heavy speculation from the limited amount of information I've seen from his devlogs. I've never talked to Dani, nor do I have access to the project files, so it's really hard to know for sure what the situation is. The second reason why Dani has created this new alias is that Dani is about to drop the biggest banger of a 69th video. How I deceived the entire fucking internet. Which is what I think is the more likely reason for this. It would be the perfect comeback video. Like, that's just straight fire right there. Probably a 1 out of 10 on the YouTube studio. If that is his plan, then fucking hell. You gotta take your hats off to the guy. That's insane. Another reason this could be the case could be found in this reply I found looking through Dani's Twitter. He says he's gonna release a video when he finishes the game he's working on, which he indicates is soon. At the time, it would make perfect sense if he is talking about Megabonk here. And honestly, either way, if Vedinad isn't Dani, he has done an insane job at copying Dani. I don't know how to say it other than that. Like, if it isn't Dani, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I'm gonna say 99.9% of the time, it's gonna be Dani. And if it is, well done to Dani. He's obviously been active, despite him not uploading. Megabonk is a massive jump in quality. The improvement is clear to see. Because goddamn, Megabonk shits all over Muck and Crab Game. Like, actually insane improvement from the guy. He's clearly been working hard behind closed doors. And that's actually saying something because Muck is actually a pretty good game. And Crab Game exists. Now, there is a 0.1% chance I just insulted Dani there, but I think it's way more likely that I just glazed the fuck out of him. If Vedinad isn't Dani, then I'm sorry, dude. You genuinely just got smoked by a fake Dani. But in conclusion, I reckon he's about to drop an absolute banger on his main channel for his 69th video, or maybe he just likes the anonymity created by there being enough of a reasonable doubt for the masses. I mean, the only people who would ever really figure this shit out are the minority of random acoustic brainrot cunts on the internet. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you want to see more of my shit. I guarantee I'll be dropping some banger content on here soon. Like, trust me, it's looking pretty sick, I can't lie. But either way, I'll catch you guys next time.